to talk today about getting over the fear of offshore banking, and I totally understand it. I grew up in a small town. My parents, my grandparents, none of them had international experience. So if you have these fears, I can totally relate, and that's what we're going to discuss today. And by the way, I give this information for free, so if you like it, please click the like button. It really helps out for the YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much. And hey, when I put out a video, I try to get right to the point, give you lots of value in a little time, so please click the subscribe button so that when more videos come out like this, you'll get notified. So let me give you a little personal background. When I was 3 years old, the family moved to Canada. That's very similar to the US, so it's not much of a stretch. I remember the French speaking over there. That was my first exposure to a foreign language. Only lived there for a year and a half, so came back when I was 5 years old. A lot of people in the US especially, because we're isolated, we have a country to the north that's very similar to us, same language for the most part, except for the French-speaking portion. We have a country to the south of us, tends to be less fortunate economically than our country, and a lot of people want to live here, so they really strive to speak English rather than us striving to speak Spanish, so we have that element here. And a lot of people are in a comfort zone. Grew up in bug tussle, and they live in the house that they inherited from their parents, or they inherited from their grandparents. The feeling is familiar, is safe, and out there is scary. And they never really tested their beliefs. In fact, I grew up in a small town on the Oregon coast. It had about 5,000 people. It's one of these everybody knows everybody kind of places. Really wasn't challenging. Weren't really any, super wealthy people that I knew of. It was pretty much a blue collar, fisherman or working at the paper mill. And I knew that if I really wanted to be somebody, I'd have to move. And I remember a quote I heard on an audio cassette by James Rohn, that was a mentor of Anthony Robbins. And he said, don't like your address? Change it. You're not a tree. And that really stuck in my mind because I knew I wanted to be somebody. I wanted to move on to bigger things in my life. I remember in college in Oregon, I went on spring break with some friends and we drove down to California, which is a big deal if you're a small town Oregonian to go to California. And one of them said, hey, let's go down to Mexico. And I thought, hey, that'd be fun. So 3 of us guys, were all in the car and we just kept on driving and kept on driving. We went down to the tip, down in the Baja, California. And just had a great time down there. It was really my first non-U.S., non-Canada experience. First, it was a little scary. I thought, oh gosh, what if they confiscate us and put us in jail and make our parents pay us to get us out just to get some bribe money? You have these fears going through your mind, but nothing happened. We had a good time. And then a few years later, I had this opportunity to live in Thailand, in Asia, and that was a huge leap. Total different culture, and it was really a neat experience. And we stopped in South Korea for a while, or in Taiwan for a while. South Korea is the first place I ever saw a machine gun in my life. They're patrolling the airport with a machine gun. And then later, as I went into the offshore services field, I did a lot of traveling. I went to France, Italy, Switzerland, Ireland, England, Denmark, Sweden, Scotland. Spent time in the Bahamas, Panama, St. Kitts, Nevis. We've set up more companies there than anybody in the world. I even took a ship through the Panama Canal, been to Puerto Rico, Cayman Islands, Colombia, and many, many others down the Caribbean. I've gone to Australia, gone to China, spent a week and a half in Vietnam of all places, growing up during the Vietnam War era. that was kind of a scary ordeal to even think of, but really had a great time and really wonderful, friendly people, a really great experience. So the key thing is we need to get out of our comfort zone. We need to test our beliefs because maybe what we believe about offshore really isn't true. Okay, so one of the big things about putting your money offshore that I hear is people worry about safety. Okay, is my money going to be safe? Well, every year Global Finance publishes a report on the 50 safest banks in the world. Now, if you're from the U.S., how many of those 50 banks do you think are from the U.S.? You think, 45, 42, maybe, certainly has to be the majority in the U.S. because the U.S. banks are so safe, right? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so we'll go ahead and take a look at the iPad here. We see, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, Germany, right? Netherlands, Germany. I thought the U.S. had the safest banks in the world. Well, goodness gracious, looking at this list, that's far from the truth. Let's keep on going. Oh, there's one. Oh, there's a bank in the U.S. It's number 35 on the list, Agribank. What in the heck is that? It's a small farming bank. And that's the safest bank in the entire United States. Is 35 on the list, and it's a teeny tiny farming bank. Wow. That blows that. U.S. has the safest banks theory right out the window, doesn't it? There's CoBank is number 44. That's the next one down, and a little farming bank. Ag First, Farm Credit Bank of Texas. And then the only national U.S. bank is U.S. Bancorp. And that's number 50. It's the last place on the list of 50. So the thinking that U.S. has the safest banks and out there it's dangerous, well, that just blew that theory right out of the water, didn't it? So the conclusion, the U.S. does not have the safest banks in the world. The safest banks are outside the United States. So that blows that theory right out the water. Now, before you start trying to write down these banks, keep in mind that the odds of you actually getting a bank account open at one of these banks are pretty slim. Give us a call and we can help with that. That's the reason why people call us, because we can help find the banks that will open up accounts for U.S. people. They're very good, safe banks that we've done research on, that I have my money in personally, for example, and we can help you get a bank account open offshore. Okay, what's another thing we hear? The U.S. is safer than other countries. It's the safest country in the world, safest place to live, right? So let's take a look and see what the data shows. I always like to look at the data and test my beliefs, because that was my thinking, growing up in a little teeny tiny town. Well, it's out there is dangerous, in here is safe, right? Let's go ahead and test that belief, see if that's true or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look down here. These are the safest countries in the world, okay, and this is according in Wikipedia. Okay, this is a global peace index for the safest countries. In other words, the countries where you're least likely to get murdered or robbed or violently attacked. Let's see, where's the U.S. on the list? Let's go ahead and take a look at this list where we can actually write on it here. Okay, number 1 is Iceland, New Zealand, Portugal. Keep on going down, keep on going down. Well, the U.S. has to be there somewhere. After all, they're one of the safest countries in the world, right? It's got to be. Well, where is it? Let's keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. If the U.S. is so safe, it's got to be somewhere up high on this list, right? Well, how many countries are on this list, by the way, okay? How many countries are on this list? 163. There's Somalia, the most dangerous. Iraq, well, I can understand that. But where's the U.S. on the list? It's got to be way up there high, right? 1, 2, 3, 128. Look at that, 128th safest country in the world where you're least likely to get murdered. Well, and you might think, well, that's just because of those recent shootings. That's the reason why. No, because if you look at 2008, we were 115th, still on the bottom half of the list, right? So that blows that theory right out the window, that it's safe in the United States and dangerous out there. We are not, by far, we are not the safest country in the world. In fact, we have banks where we open up accounts for clients that are over 200 years old offshore. Our company started in 1906, so that's over 100 years old, our company. I've been in this business since 1991, so I've been in the business well over 30 years. We have a whole team of licensed attorneys on our staff. They're all in good standing with no disciplinary action on their records. Very good reputations, very good people that really, really care about people. Another concern people have is just plain fear of the unknown. They just don't know what's out there. So the key thing is when you open an offshore bank account, you want to open it not in your own name, because that's just your name wiring to your own name. You want to set up an offshore company, and the offshore company holds the account, and then you wire from your name to the company. Better yet, have an offshore trust own the company. That way, when you have a lawsuit, for example, where you live, our law firm can step in to protect you from that lawsuit. Still hesitant? Let's say you have $1 million. Instead of putting the whole $1 million in one fell swoop, why not put $10,000 in, right? And then you wake up the next morning and go online and wow, what do you know? Your money's still there. If you get a passport and you start traveling overseas, you'll notice the people aren't running around murdering each other. You go to France and people will be sitting in sidewalk cafes, eating their croissants and drinking their tea and just having a good time. You go down in the Caribbean, people are laughing, they're playing soccer in the street, they have pet monkeys they're walking, they're just having a good time laughing and joking just like we do in the U.S., except for the monkeys. So the key thing, if you're hesitant, start small. And once you get a comfort level and you say everything's good and you get out of bug tussle, then you realize it's safe. With the extensive traveling that I've done, I found that people around the world are pretty much the same. They just want to laugh, have a good time, live in safety and peace. And the key thing is test it. Test it. If you're afraid, just test it. And as you grow, as you have the account, you have the online access, you see your money online, you can put your money into a stock market portfolio offshore like I have, then you feel very comfortable, feel very safe. I sleep like a baby at night knowing my money is safe. And it's also protected from the very dangerous U.S. legal system. So I sleep like a baby in total peace, knowing my money is safe and secure offshore. If you like this video, please click like below. It really helps me out a lot. Subscribe to this channel, share this video with others, and I really thank you for watching. This is The Business Guy.